Hey guys, today in our video we're going to talk about the wholesale process, going from the seller, the contract and that arrangement there, how that relationship then continues on through you and into your end buyer, and how everybody gets paid and how the whole transaction occurs. This is the whole reason why I absolutely love wholesale. It is fantastic. We're able to then dive in and help create value for our end buyer by being their acquisitions company. We have a chance to then be the finder of a purchaser for our seller, and we get to connect both of them, create value for both. And that's why our end buyer is willing to pay us a fee to be able to find it, because they don't have to have this whole system set up for themselves. It's an absolute phenomenal way to be able to build wealth, to be able to get involved with real estate and get experience moving real estate. I hope that this is of value to you because we absolutely love what we're doing. Make sure to stay tuned, hit the like button, subscribe down below so you can see other videos where we'll be walking you through how to comp and find out what you can offer these sellers, how you can find these end buyers, how you can go about doing the paperwork and everything else involved, so that way you really do have that step-by-step process. So subscribe below, drop any comments if you have any additional questions, so that way it helps us to know what we can be doing to continue to answer these questions for you, and stay tuned. All right guys, so let's dive into a typical transaction. So when we're looking at a typical wholesale transaction, again, there are so many different types of real estate transactions, but if we're looking at a typical wholesale transaction, there's going to be three different parties. There's yourself as the wholesaler, there's the seller who's selling that property, and then there's the end buyer. So our seller has a home, they want to be able to sell that home. So you as the wholesaler have now come to that seller to build a relationship with them. So you've come to that seller to be able to get their property under contract at an agreed upon price. So you've done your comping, check out our other videos on that to be able to see how to comp a property and come up with what you could offer somebody for their home. And so you've gone through and you've agreed upon a price, you send them your purchase and sale agreement, which is the contract that you get them under contract with to be able to purchase their home. And that says that you have an intent to be able to purchase that home. These are typically a cash transaction. They don't have to be. There's other ways to be able to structure wholesale transactions, but typically they're a cash transaction. So this is the purchase and sale agreement. Then, once we have that purchase and sale agreement, we then have an inspection period. So during that inspection period, it may be 10 days or it could be 14 days to be able to review the property and make sure that that lines up with the criteria that we need for the property to be able to make money on the property. So during this time period, this is when we go to get pictures. It's when we go to get contractors to walk that property. We'll get our financial partners to be able to walk that property as well, to figure out what financing and things like that would look like on it. During this time period, so once we have our pictures and other things like that, we also can then go and search among all of our different buyers that we've built relationships with and ask, who has any interest in purchasing this property at this price? Does it match with somebody's criteria? They're really looking for a great flip in this community. So we're able to line up with them, be able to meet their needs, help solve that problem. And that's how we actually create value in this whole exchange. Once we find an end buyer that lines up with that, let's say that this person right here on the front has raised his hand, said, I'm interested in this property. That's the property that I want to be able to purchase. I want to be your end buyer on it. So we've gotten our original purchase and sale, and for the sake of this example, we're going to say that we locked up this original contract for $100,000. Now we can go to our end buyer and say, hey, Mr. End Buyer, why don't you come and purchase this property for $105,000? And if he says yes, and we come to those agreements, he's ready to go, he's raised his hand, then at that point, we send an assignment contract to him. That assignment contract is basically saying that that end buyer is assuming or taking over our current contract with the seller. And he's taking it over at a $105,000 purchase price instead of a $100,000 purchase price. So this purchase and sale agreement is now actually assumed by the end person. So it's almost like there's this dotted line that is saying it's going from the end buyer to our seller. The super powerful part about this whole process is the fact that we are acting as an acquisitions firm for our end buyer. That is the reason why these end buyers love to work with wholesalers. They don't have to go and build their own team and have all these expenses to be able to find, locate, negotiate with, and go through this whole process to be able to find a seller who's interested to sell at a price that makes sense for an investor to purchase. So these investors, many investors love working with wholesalers, and so you're able to create value when you're able to find a property for that end buyer. And then for the seller, you're finding value because you're finding somebody who's willing to purchase that property for them in the condition where it's at, cash offer, as is transaction, moving forward to be able to purchase that home. So let's talk about what it looks like then at closing. Take in mind that we have this purchase and sale agreement that is then being assigned to an end buyer, and that end buyer is now paying $5,000 more. So at this point, we have now sent, at the very beginning to start our inspection period, we send this off to title. And as soon as we get our assignment signed, we send that one off to title as well. Title runs their paperwork during this whole time, making sure that title comes back clear and ready to go. And then now we have this kind of like three-way circle, right? So you have title here, you have our seller, you have you as the wholesaler, and then you have your end buyer over here, the investor buyer. This seller has agreed to be able to receive $100,000 for the purchase of their property. So when it comes for the close, this end buyer is going to be signing the purchase and sale agreement with title and sending them $105,000. Then they send that to title and they sign all their paperwork, and then our seller then receives $100,000 once they have filled out all of their paperwork, because they agreed to receive $100,000. Now the wholesaler, you as the wholesaler, the way that you make money is that difference of the $100,000 and $105,000, which leaves you $5,000, then comes to you at close of escrow once everything has gone through. So that is how that's the whole process of wholesaling in general. That's how we create value. We're the acquisitions company for the end buyer investor. We are the purchaser and finder of a purchaser for the seller. And then we're able to make some value there, and we make a spread there as well. This is what I absolutely love about wholesale, is that we get a chance to be able to create value for both sides of the equation. And as you're doing this on scale and you're doing more and more and more deals, it can really start to add up and create really good income coming through. We absolutely love what we're doing. And if you have any questions on this, please drop them in the comments. We want to be able to fill that in. We'll go into greater detail as far as what paperwork looks like and some of the kind of the more detailed side of this entire process. So for example, as soon as you've collected it, we didn't go into this, but on those purchase and sale agreements, you would have EMD, which stands for earnest money deposits, and how that's all structured. And so how it goes through and how you can protect yourself in different circumstances as well, making sure that you're able to perform for your end or for your seller, and also that you're able to get everything ready and prepared for your end buyer. So we'll talk more of the details about how you go through in the process of how you locate your seller, and also the process of how you locate your end buyer in future videos as well. So make sure to hit subscribe below. That way you're in, and hit the notification bell. That way you're aware of when we post videos, so that you're able to realize your dreams as well through real estate, the wealth that can be generated there. I love all this stuff, and I want to share as much as I possibly can with you. So hit that subscribe button, and we'll see you on the next one.